Good morning, good afternoon, and good day wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of Sales TV Live. Today, we're talking about value selling as a mindset. We're joined by Lee Levitt, principal at Acelera Group. Did I get that right, Lee?
You sure did. Acelera.
All right, Acelera Group. Lee has extensive experience in customer value selling, sales enablement, and driving sales productivity. With a distinguished background working at industry leaders Google and Oracle, Lee has spearheaded significant market pivots and led global sales initiatives. Lee, welcome.
Thanks, Rob. Crap, that sounds like something I wrote. or maybe ChatGPT came up with it.
It could be. It could very well be. So, Lee, let's start by having you tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what led you to where you are today.
Well, in using the essence of value selling, it's never about me. It's always about the audience. So why am I here talking about value selling? Because I've worked with many salespeople and other customer-facing people, helping them to understand how to engage better with their customers. In the service of their customers. So for instance, I used to be part of the key account team calling on Merck, a big pharmaceutical company. And in their headquarters, they have this banner over the front hall that says, and I'm paraphrasing, it's a few years now, if we don't act soon, 4 million mothers will die. Now that sets a context for walking in the door and going to work every day. And little old Oracle, we were just selling them database and CRM and customer experience and analytics and connectivity tools, etc. And when I talked to my account team, I shared with them that context that Merck is out to help people live, to improve the world. And if we don't call today and put it off and maybe call tomorrow, maybe Merck won't be able to achieve their goal. So
that's quite compelling, isn't it? I mean, it puts like passionate about databases into context, really, doesn't it?
Well, there are people that are natively passionate about databases, and they're weird. For the rest of us, it's a series of business conversations, and value selling is all about business or not, because value is defined by the receiver, not by the deliverer. Right. So here's a test, that I use. If I'm facilitating a value selling session of 30 people, I might ask, how many of you have bought a car in the past 6 months? And some hands will go up, and I'll say, so Sally, what did you buy? I bought a minivan. Charlie, what did you buy? I bought a 4-seater. Fred, what did you buy? I bought a sports car. Well, they all get you to where you're going. Sally, why did you buy a minivan? Because I have a motorcycle. I like to get to the track, and that was the easiest way to do it. Oh, you thought I was going to go somewhere else, huh? I have a motorcycle. I like to get to the track. And Fred, why did you buy your car? Well, because it's good on gas. And so they were all looking for transportation, and they had different values in that transportation. So when we engage with customers or prospects, what we want to do is to understand what they care about, what their language of value is, how they describe the world, so that we can synchronize with what they care about. Because if we don't, we might be talking Greek to them. Another example, and this is a personal one. I like cars, and I like cars to a point where I race cars. So if I sit down with my wife and say, honey, I would like to buy the new Porsche Cayman. And the reason I would like to buy the new Porsche Cayman is because it is a mid-engine car. And because it is a mid-engine car, it performs better on the track. I can go faster. Her language of value is not performance. And so for her, it's a no. Conversely, if I said, honey, I'd like to buy the new Porsche Cayman. And the reason I'd like to buy the new Porsche Cayman is because it's a mid-engine car. And because it's a mid-engine car, it will be easier on tires and suspension. And as a result, it will be less expensive to campaign. her language of value is cost. So when I align to her language of value, I'm more likely to get the big thumbs up. Have I
Well,
so far?
I think, to be frank, I think you've pitched it totally wrongly, because I think you should have said, I'd like to buy the old Porsche Carrera GT because it's an appreciating asset. And she'll say, yes, oh, absolutely, Lee. Fill your boots.
Well, the 959 is already in the garage, so we've got that appreciating asset going. Just kidding. Yes,
I was going to say,
Adam,
I'm genuinely impressed if you have got a 959.
that's a pretty safe bet. It's tough to make a bad decision on an older Porsche, but we digress. So understanding the language of value has the power of connecting with people around what they care about. And so value selling as a mindset is the doing of that. It's not a sales process. It's not a step one, pitch this. It's not a step two, pitch that. It's not a step three, write this down. It's not like Medic or MedPick. It's different. It's a way of thinking. It's actually also a way of feeling. You have to be empathetic to what your customer's going through.
It's really interesting you say that, because the natural human, let's assume that you are passionate about databases. The natural human behavior is for me to try to instill my passion about databases in you as the customer, in order that you'll understand how wonderful this little blue button in the corner is, and how this slider is. And actually the concept of really ruthlessly putting yourself in the customer's shoes it is about feeling, and it is a change in mindset, isn't it?
Absolutely. So empathy is absolutely critical. Curiosity is even more important. And the reason that curiosity is even more important is that the information you gather from being curious drives the ability to be empathetic, drives the ability to really listen for what you think that customer might be interested in. And what you think the customer might be interested in is an important qualifier, because you do have to listen. You have to listen to for that pivot of, well, I used to be interested in this, now I'm interested in that. And in so many power hours, I would have an inside sales rep, a BDR or XDR, say to that response, oh, I'm so sorry for bothering you, goodbye. As opposed to following the pivot and saying, really, tell me more. So too many salespeople today follow scripts, either directly or informally, and they aren't trained, they haven't built the muscle memory to follow that pivot for when the customer says, I'm focusing on this now. And even though the salesperson hasn't prepared deeply for that pivot, they have the empathy to listen and to hear what the customer has said, and then to follow.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times people that are in that kind of fact-finding phase, actually what they're not doing is listening. What they're doing is waiting for an opportunity to speak. And there's a massive gulf between the two, isn't there?
So, Adam, you touch on a really interesting point. The fact-finding phase, discovery. Who is discovery for?
A very good question. Yeah.
Yeah. So most commonly, the common perspective is discovery or fact-finding is for the salesperson. And if we look at it that way, it's the opportunity for the salesperson to build the business case so they can beat the customer over the head with it. I look at discovery completely differently. I look at discovery as a process of co-creation. And I use that word from Gerhard Geschwander, who's been publisher of Selling Magazine for many decades and runs all of the Sales 3.0 conferences. It's co-creation. It's helping the customer develop a different perspective on how to do things. Hello, Bob. Welcome aboard. Develop a different way of doing things. And it's their discovery, not the vendor's discovery. And when the customer is co-creating, then at some point, if you're doing it well, what happens is they say, how quickly can we get this done? The art of the self-close.
So, how can sales teams identify and align with customers' strategic initiatives then?
Rob, that's That's a key question. There's it, and the answer to that is fairly straightforward. There's a process of creating a series of hypotheses. A business value hypothesis. What impact can we have on this organization? A financial hypothesis. What's the value of them doing something different? A stakeholder hypothesis. Who cares? And developing those hypotheses through internal research, external research, talking with other people that have called on that organization before, or with people who have called on individuals at other organizations. Those same individuals at other organizations, so you understand their language of value, so you understand what their KPIs or OKRs are, what they're working on. You can get some of that from the 10K, the annual reports, or the quarterly earnings calls. And one of my favorite tips is seekingalpha.com is a great place to find the transcript of the earning calls. Browse those, go back 4 quarters or 6 quarters, and you'll hear what the analysts probe on. And they may probe on 5% improvement in productivity, manufacturing productivity, or an improvement in 360-degree views of the customer, or employee retention, or market gains. And if the analysts are probing on that, there's someone in the organization that owns that metric or that OKR. And so when you identify those people, you align your conversation to helping them achieve their OKRs. When I was launching an autonomous data warehouse at Oracle, we focused on line of business executives, and I showed Charlie, the manufacturing VP, riding a jet ski. Well, why did I show that? Because I wanted my inside salespeople who were ostensibly calling on Charlie to think Charlie doesn't just want to improve manufacturing quality by 3 percentage points. He's going to get an MBO when he does that. And when he gets his MBO, he's going to buy a jet ski. So I made it real for them. Of course, I also had to explain what an MBO is to some of these folks who had never worked in business before. So it's a matter of building a story or a hypothesis around what you think is going on in that organization. And Rob, what do we mean when we say hypothesis? Is a hypothesis a statement of fact?
I would go with no, it's an educated guess.
It's an educated guess. And what do you do with an educated guess? You test it. And so when you show up and you talk to Charlie, the VP of manufacturing, and say, Charlie, I have some thoughts about how you can improve your manufacturing quality. We've done some research and we see that your first line, your daytime manufacturing line runs at a 98 percentage point quality level. Your second line runs at a 96. And we have some theories as to why that might be. I'd like to run those hypotheses by you. Now, what will Charlie do? Say, I'm not interested in learning that, right? He's got an MBO on that. He's got a jet ski waiting at the dealership for him to go pick up. He's going to say, tell me more. And that's where you start to roll out your assumptions. Charlie, we assumed this. We looked at other companies that we've worked with that have similar manufacturing lines, and this is what we found. And we think the same thing might be going on here. We think it's not your people. We think it's late deliveries, late supply deliveries. And so that's causing your production line to slow down, and then people rush. And we've got some data to show that that happens in other organizations. What would Charlie's response be? Nah, that's wrong. What do you think his response would be?
Yeah, I think his response will be blue.
Blue.
The jet ski he's going to buy. He's upgraded to the custom paint job now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gone on to that custom paint job because we're talking. We've offered something of significant value to Charlie. We have made a deposit in our relationship bank account with him, right? And we have to make deposits, as I found at my local bank. We have to make deposits before we can make withdrawals. So a withdrawal is asking for them to expedite contract signing, for instance, asking for them to introduce you to other stakeholders. So you need to make deposits, and good salespeople are constantly making deposits, even if there's no opportunity on the table.
Bob Britton chimes in, and Bob says, a hypothesis exists to be tested, but tested not to prove it correct, but but to disprove it per the scientific method.
Bob knows of what he speaks. He's an expert in this area as well. So this is not taught in sales generally. We have a recipe, break 2 eggs, mix them into the pot, throw some Tabasco sauce in, throw it on a burner. What happens if we don't have a burner? What happens if we don't have Tabasco sauce? What happens if the diner is not interested in eggs, right? Then the recipe fails and we throw the burnt eggs in the trash. And so we spend a lot of time in sales organizations teaching salespeople about our products and then certifying them on the products. Do customers care?
No.
They do not care.
They do not care. They do not care. What they do care about is whether or not they can get their jet skis, whether they can achieve their strategic business objectives, whether they can meet their OKRs or KPIs, whether they can meet the milestones that their investors have put in front of them. They don't care whether that salesperson has the advanced degree, advanced certification. Now, this does help that for the salesperson to understand what they're selling, but that's necessary, but completely insufficient, because the salesperson has to create awareness. The salesperson has to align with the customer as opposed to forcing the vendor's perspective. And many organizations start out with that inside out view of, here's what we have to offer, go sell it to people that might need it, as opposed to find out what people need and see how we can help.
Do you know why that is?
It's a religious, Rob, it's a religious belief that our product is best. And if we only tell people enough of the facts and details, they'll make the right decision. I was at a company years ago, and I won't mention the name, but it was Oracle, where oops, did I do that? Where I proposed a win-loss analysis program. I wanted to go out and I wanted to go find out why customers were saying no to us out in the field on a customer by customer, opportunity by opportunity basis. And the feedback I got was, we know why customers, this is a long time ago, so all of the involved parties have moved on. We know why customers say no. They're stupid. Now, at some point, Oracle and other companies were monopolies. And a monopoly view only lasts so long until you're not a monopoly. So these days, we need to align with what the customers care about. They don't care whether they're keeping inventory on a 3x5 card or a cloud-based data warehouse or anything in between. If it works for them, it works. And in today's market, as I'm seeing with some of my coaching clients, it doesn't matter how much you offer them on a discount on the annual renewal or the bundle of new stuff into that 3-year ELA. Status quo is painful enough for them. They are not willing to take on new challenges. We really have to align to what's possible for them and what they value for them to even consider making a change. Bill, you're exactly right. It's the outcome. And
Bill Becker says customers want the outcome of a product or service. They want the peace of mind that they aren't making a purchasing mistake.
Yeah.
Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, right, Lee?
That may still be true.
That may or may not still be true, but that was the old adage.
And so the interesting thing, and again, with my coaching clients, I talk about this. The outcome is not the signing of the contract. The outcome is not the implementation of the product or service. The outcome happens long after the customer has gone through the trough of despair. Oh my gosh, what have we done? Why isn't it working now? Why are we running 2 systems in parallel? And 6 months or a year later, they start to experience the outcome that we had talked about, that Bill mentions. So most salespeople don't stick around long enough with particular opportunities to see what organizations how organizations actually benefit. And those are the greatest assets. When you can say, I worked with other companies that have gone through this and here's what they're experiencing now, having made this choice, and are now actively receiving the benefits, that's when customers pay attention. That's when new prospects pay attention. Really, tell me more. Can we talk with those folks?
See,
So
I don't
I had
believe I don't believe that most salespeople have the customer's best interests at heart. And you talked about a particular company that you happen to be at. I happen to be at the same company for some time, and one of the things that always used to make me laugh, and I've referenced this a number of times on these calls, is customer journey mapping, which has absolutely nothing to do with the customer's journey about buying your product. It has everything to do with your journey about selling the product. And it's that juxtaposition between saying you want to have a relationship-based sale and actually wanting to have a relationship-based sale. The only reason I'm having a relationship-based sale with you is so I can dip my hand in your pocket and take out more money than you thought you were going to spend. And I can't help thinking that for most organizations, that's the case, isn't it?
Yeah, Adam, sadly, you're right. We set up salespeople to fail. The compensation programs and the daily, weekly, monthly inspections, the pipeline
It
reviews.
drives poor behavior, doesn't it?
It absolutely drives poor behavior because we put pressure on salespeople to perform today. Now, for salespeople in life insurance, they know they make 3 years of investment and then the annuities start rolling in. That is not true in technology sales. Unless you have unless you have a context of I'm in it for the long term, I am making friends and acquaintances and contacts that I'm going to leverage for the next 30 years of my career. And the top 10, maybe 20% of salespeople do that. They don't care whether they get today's deal. They care whether that person walks away from the conversation saying, I got value from talking with Adam. And I will look forward to seeing his name on my caller ID again. And and Adam, you can take that to the bank.
Yeah, sadly, nobody ever has that feeling. There's Adam's caller ID. Great, I've been looking forward to this.
I had set you up with why do we teach the product and certification to really pivot to this question. How can sales enablement support a value selling mindset?
Oh, Rob, do you want to rehash that conversation? Put down the content management tools for the next 18 months and focus on coaching for better outcomes. Coaching seller behavior, customer-facing behavior for better outcomes. Because so much of sales enablement is content-centric, we are shoveling content at people, some of which might be behavior-oriented, but most of it is product-centric. Nobody learns how to ride a bicycle by watching YouTube or reading, the psychology of balance or the physics of balance, and then taking a certification exam online. You do it by and I actually have pictures of my son and daughter. My son's holding my daughter up when she's 5 years old, helping her to experience balance and to feel what good looks like and to practice that. Right? It's the Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, one little piece at a time, practicing the component parts of good engagement. Not let me tell you about 3.4. 3.4 is better than 3.3 because we moved the start button from the right side to the left side of the screen, and now it's blue rather than green. Yeehaw!
But that's what I've been waiting for.
Yes. Good luck to you.
Nobody ever.
Nobody ever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The reason that sales enablement focuses on content in many cases is because it's easy and because it's measurable, and we can hire inexpensive people to do that work. I won't mention the company name, but the head of sales enablement celebrated the fact at one point that we had 1 million downloads in Seismic. And my quiet response was that Fred in Des Moines really bored and he just kept hitting refresh? Was it all 10,000 of our salespeople searching and searching and searching and downloading and downloading and downloading and never finding what they needed? That's a metric without any context.
Well, there's
was
a lovely story, isn't there, that Gary Vee tells about his basketball team that or whichever, I think it's basketball team, that he was waiting for them to announce a transfer of someone. So he's got all his alerts set up, but he's also going to ESPN or whichever sports site, and he keeps refreshing the page, waiting to see this news flash.
Yeah.
And then every time, and I can say this because I'm not affiliated to them, every time he refreshes the page, a Samsung pops up, and he presses the button in the corner, and because he's got big fingers, it then diverts to the website. And he said, so the marketing guy at Samsung's going, oh my God, look at this guy in New York. He's desperate to buy one of our TVs. He keeps going to the web page. And Gary Vee's gone home and said to his wife, we are never going to buy a Samsung product until I'm dead. And it's this juxtaposition, isn't there, between what you think is happening and actually the reality of what might be happening in terms of how people are engaging with the stuff.
Yeah, here's a question that I like to ask, and it happens to be the title of a book. Will it make the boat go faster? And the book is about the 8+ crew for the British crew for the 96 Olympics, and their struggles to become a coherent team and to actually make the boat go faster. And anything that they might do that doesn't actually achieve in helping the boat to go faster, they shouldn't do. And it involves teamwork, and involves a whole series of things and broken boats and all that. It's a great read. And so in sales, it's the same thing. If we make more and more content, will it make the boat go faster? A good friend of mine who was head of marketing operations at HP said at one point, 97% of all the content we ever created has never been seen once. The same may be true for sales enablement content. I haven't seen the stats. I'll ask a friend of mine at Seismic about that. That may well be true too. And so are we helping salespeople to actually be successful? Are we helping our customers to actually be successful? Because that's the key point. If we're in alignment with our customers' strategic goals and their strategic goals, then how salespeople behave or act and how we in enablement support them will change dramatically.
On that note, we're out of time. Lee, this has been great. How can people learn more? Where can they get in touch with you?
Rob, they can find me in one of two places. Out on the trails where I'm trail running. No, that's not right. They can find me on LinkedIn, Lee Levitt, Levitt. They can also find me at the Acelera Group, Acelera Group.com, or thoughtsonselling.com. And Rob, you were just recently on my podcast, and we had fun talking about the book you just released.
Yes, I was, and thank you again very much for that. I appreciate it. We now have a newsletter. Don't miss an episode. Get show highlights, beyond the show insights, and reminders of upcoming episodes. Scan the QR code on screen or visit us at SalesTV.live and click on newsletter. This has been another edition of Sales TV Live. On behalf of the panelists and everyone at Sales TV Live, to our guest, to our audience, thank you all for being an active part in today's conversation.